Hi, I'm Elizabeth with Wine Expert. I'll be making a braised beef stew and pairing it with an Italian Nebbiolo. Let's get started first with our marinade. To make the marinade, we'll start with 2 cloves of fresh crushed garlic, half of a small white onion sliced, 1 sprig of thyme, a bay leaf, and 1 cup of red wine. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper just to taste. And then we'll add about 2 1/4 pounds chuck roast that has been diced. And I'm just going to mix that thoroughly, get all the beef covered up nicely. And then I'm going to cover it with some saran wrap, and I'm going to refrigerate it for about 24 hours. Now that the beef has been marinated, we're going to strain the juices. Once we reserve all of these juices, we're going to then take our meat and then we're going to pat it dry, and then we'll be ready to cook. I'm going to turn our pan on to a medium-high heat, and I'm going to add some vegetable oil, and then I'm going to add our meat. And I'm going to cook that until it's browned on all sides. Now that the beef is brown, I'm going to add some flour just to coat all of the beef and incorporate that and let that brown for another 3 to 5 minutes. Once that's done, I'll add the tomato paste and mix that in thoroughly, and that will cook and simmer for another 5 minutes. We're going to then add the wine marinade, and then I'm going to let that cook on low heat just until the beef is tender. Now I'll add 1 cup of chicken stock. I'm going to set my beef aside to simmer on the stove for a little while I start a new saute pan on medium-high heat. And I'm just going to cook some mushrooms. I'm going to add a little bit of butter, and my mushrooms. And I'm just going to let that saute for a few minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and add my carrots to my beef stew, along with some potatoes and some pearled onions. I'm going to incorporate this and let this simmer for a little while until the vegetables are nice and tender. Now I'll incorporate the sauteed mushrooms. Stir those in and add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to taste. And I'm just going to let that simmer until everything is nice and tender, and then we'll be ready to serve. Oh, that smells delicious.